guys, it's Faye from Solar Flow and I'm back with another video. Today's topic, Native Americans, the early English settlers, and the 13 colonies. But if you watch my channel, you know this is not a history lesson. I do not research the topics that I talk about in any way, shape, or form because I want the information that comes in to not have to pass through too many channels of filtering with what I know to be true historically. I want it to come in and be received openly and purely. So anything that I know is what I know from years ago in school, or it's what I know from now reading books with my son. And yes, we do have a book on the early American settlers. And I think that's probably what inspired this read today. And so what we're going to talk about is the Native Americans and how they were experiencing life and their connection beyond the veil. We're also going to compare and contrast that to the early American settlers and how the differences between them perhaps, and also the differences that were not perceived with their eyes, but the differences that were experienced with their souls, how that has perhaps shaped what has occurred as well. So if this sounds like a good topic to you, stick around. If not, I will catch you at another video. All right, so let's talk about the Native Americans. So the Native Americans were shown to me as being exceptionally high vibrational beings. And that was due to a great number of factors. So the first one was they were shown to me as in the warmer months being barefoot. So they were able to energetically ground themselves to Mother Earth and connect with her and her energy. So they had, because of that, they had an understanding of how to work the land. They had an understanding of when to best plant things to get the greatest return on investment. And it was not just through trial and error. It was done because they understood how to work with Mother Earth. Now, because of that, because they were so connected on one side, they were also equally open and connected with their crown chakra. So they were able to connect to Source directly. They were also able to connect with the astral plane, and they were also able to connect with their ancestors on the astral plane. So they're open from below, they're open from above, and because they were also wearing all natural materials, so if they were hunting animals, none of the animal would go to waste. In the wintertime, they were using the furs. They were also making boots, but they were leather bottomed. And in the summertime, they were perhaps just wearing like a loincloth, but that was also made from the animals. So they were very high vibration because of their connection to Earth, their connection to Source, and that they were completely wearing, and anything that touched their skin was also a natural and not a man-made material. Now, they were also had a understanding of how to work with the elements, and the way that they were doing that, so they basically had a very practical way of using magic. But the way that they did that was by doing things in advance with a sense of gratitude. So everything that they went to was, and everything that they did was saying thank you prior to doing anything. So when they were planting seeds for the harvest, they were thanking Mother Earth. Thank you, Mother Earth, for accepting the seeds that we are planting so that this can nourish us, so that we can live off of your sustenance. The rain dances that they were also doing from somebody on the outside looking in, would think it was preposterous. Like, what do you mean you're doing a dance to summon the rain, right? But they had an understanding that by doing this dance and offering it to the elements, it actually would bring the rain. So again, the rain dance was done with this attitude of gratitude. Thank you for bringing the rain. Thank you for bringing the rain that is nurturing our soil, that is helping our seeds, that we can be nourished by. Thank you for bringing us water. They also had this ability to energetically line up with the animals that they were hunting. This was also done with gratitude. And the way that it was done was they could vibrationally become a match to the animal, and would be in this space of saying to the animal, thank you, brother. Thank you for sacrificing yourself to us so that we can be nourished by you. Thank you for sacrificing yourself to us so that we can protect our bodies with you. Everything that they did was with this advanced intention of gratitude. And the reason that they were able to do that was, again, they were very vibrationally pure and very vibrationally open. So what that would look like, for example, if you think of like modern day times, imagine you have to go to work. So you're hopping on the freeway and you get there at the perfect time, and there's no traffic and there's no road closures, and it's just like smooth sailing, right? And then when you're on the roads, it's all green lights, you find parking right away. That would feel fantastic. That would be like, wow, I'm in the flow today. Now, imagine if you're not in the flow, how that would be experienced. You're getting on the freeway, there's already traffic. Now, on top of the traffic, let's just throw everything at this example. It's raining, because here in SoCal it doesn't snow. It's raining. They're doing road work. So it's slowed down. Everyone's driving slower because it's raining. Plus there's already rush hour traffic. Plus they're doing road work, and there's detours. And the detours are directing you off of the freeway, and you have to take roads. You have to take the streets to get to work. And everyone's being detoured that way. And it's just causing it's just unbearable. Imagine what your energy and vibration, how you would experience life, one, if you're in the flow, getting on the freeway, it's fabulous, right? The sun is shining, you find parking, there's no traffic, versus everything that could happen, everything that could go wrong, went wrong. And not only, let's say, environmentally were these things going wrong, but the internal stress that would put on your body. So you're driving, you're in the car for longer. So, your hip flexors are going to get tight, your low back is going to start to hurt, your shoulders are going to start to be compressed. This is causing an energetic misalignment in your body. And you're experiencing all of these external hardships in a very heavier and denser energy. So now mentally, this is causing you to not be in the greatest of moods either, right? So because they were able to live in this state of flow, in a state of energetic alignment with Mother Earth, with the elements, with Source, with their ancestors, they could energetically line up so easily with the things that they needed. They were able to, if you will, manifest these things a lot easier. And they were also always connected to Source. So vibrationally, they were very high. Now, we're going to compare and contrast that to the settlers that came over. So the first settlers that came over experienced life in England in a very three-dimensional way. And that was also how they experienced life when they came over here as well. And what I mean by that, what does the three-dimensional mean? It's anything that you can only see and the things that you can only experience with your primary five senses. So it's what you can see, what you can taste, what you can touch, what you can hear, what you can smell. And all experiences are filtered through the lens of previous experiences. So they had by no means the settlers were not living the grand life when they were in England. They worked hard, sounds familiar. They paid taxes to the crown, sounds familiar. Their connection to God was one that was told to them how it was to be experienced and told to them how it was to look. So once a week on Sundays, they were in church, where they were sermonized to, where they were preached to, where they were reading words in a book, whether or not it resonated or connect with them, but this was how they were told they were to commune with God. Okay. Now, when they're coming over, by no accounts were these, luxury cruise liners, right? They were very crowded. It was a long journey. They didn't have medication they could take for seasickness. They did not have personal space. They had like a bucket that they were using for their bodily functions, right? This was not like a fantastic experience for them. It wasn't like, woohoo, we're going to the new world and I have my luxury cabin and I have a cabin that's above sea so I can look out the window and I can see things and I can go at a meal whenever I want to and I can partake in the whatever shows they're offering. Like, no. This was as not luxurious as one can imagine. So taking that into account and thinking about energetically, how were they then coming into their new world? They didn't have what to compare and contrast it to, right? So they were imagining that life in the new world would be much as life had been when they were in England. They would have to work the land. They would go to church on Sunday. They would commune with God once a week, reading words out of a book, again, whether it resonated with them or not. They were being sermonized to by their head of the church, whoever it was, if they had a priest. So energetically, they were coming in already with this preconceived idea of what life might have been like. And it's not to say that life was not challenging for them. It's just to say that the way in which we go into an environment and a situation, the energy that we're bringing into it can also influence it as well. And for example, I'm going to give you a very first world problem example. And it's not in any way to compare it to what their experience was like. It's to acknowledge the reality that life today in 2022, and I'm recording this video, is so far removed from what life was like for these settlers in the 15 and 1600s. Like, that's just the reality of it. So to make this apply to modern day times, I have to give you a modern day example. So imagine, if you will, that you're invited to, you're going to a wedding. And I'm gonna give you a woman's example. I'm a woman. So going to this wedding, and the dress that I wanted to wear, I just realized the hem has come undone and I don't have time to sew it. And then on top of that, the shoes that I wanted to wear are scuffed up and I didn't have an opportunity to get a manicure. So I'm not feeling like so put together, right? So I have to choose a different dress. I have to choose different shoes. I'm already feeling like I'm not like feeling so fancy and fine. I had a bad day at work, right? It was raining. There was traffic on the freeway. So all of those external factors, therefore, can influence the energy of going into the wedding and how I'm going to be feeling and how I would potentially even interact with people with that when I am there. So this is to help you understand that their experiences as well were directly connected to the way in which they were experiencing their new world. Now, on top of that, they had to learn a new environment. They had to learn a new land. They had to learn about the seasons. And they were not connected to nature and didn't have this relationship like the Native Americans had, in which they could work directly with the elements, and also were not coming into the situation in this attitude of gratitude, right? So the way that each perceived one another, so the way that the Native Americans perceived the first settlers was with this detached curiosity. They didn't understand the way that they dressed. And it's not just because they were covered up and the Native Americans were not covered up. It was, how can they feel the way the wind is blowing if they're covered up? How can they feel Mother Earth's energy if they have this big barrier between their feet and the earth? How are they even having a connection to Source? Because they're communing with God once a week on Sunday. So they were this curiosity. Like, imagine, if you will, if a spaceship just landed in the middle of your city and these aliens hopped out. They would be a curiosity to you too. They would look different. They would have a different language. They would dress differently. They would not necessarily understand how to interact with their new environment. As us, we would then be considered like the natives, you know? But so they were a curiosity to them. Now, the way in which the settlers perceived the Native Americans was they actually looked upon them as if they were barbaric. And I'm going to explain why. First of all, they were not really dressed, right? They were wearing loincloths. They were barefoot. They couldn't understand, why are they barefoot? Doesn't that hurt their feet? They were doing these weird rain dances to try to summon the rain. They wear the animals in the entirety. They live in these weird dwellings. It was just like it was completely foreign to them. But it was also because they didn't understand, on the outside looking in, that the Native Americans were surrounded all the time by Source, and not seeing that the Native Americans had a designated day and a designated building in which to commune with God. They thought they were godless. But again, not understanding that they were with God all the time. They were with the elements all the time. They were communing with nature all the time. They understood, though, the settlers understood that they could learn from the Native Americans on how to, they didn't understand how to commune with nature, but they understood that they understood how to work the land. So they did, to some extent, of course, interact, but they also, I think there had been like an earlier expedition where some Native Americans had been taken as slaves and they had learned the English language. So now they also had a few of these Native Americans that could act as interpreters, right? But they didn't see them as people, really. They saw them as, it sounds horrible, but they saw them as tools. This person is a tool that's going to help us communicate. They were basically, you know, communicators. So they didn't necessarily have the greatest of relationships. It's not to say that not all of the colonies didn't have great relationships, because some of them did. But hey, that's, you know, that's human nature, that's humanity. Some people can just get along with other people more easily and some people can't. It's okay, it just is. Now let's talk a little bit about like what was going on the astral plane, because this is also fascinating when it came to the bison specifically. And this is what I saw for the Native Americans' connection to bison. Now, at some point, the government, the United States government, had started to kill off the bison. And there's a 3D explanation for that, and then there's the explanation on the behind the veil, what was going on in the astral plane. So the three-dimensional version of why the bison had been killed was that they wanted to interfere with the Native Americans' food supply. And in effect, by doing that, they were going to cause the Native Americans to be more reliant on the government, and it was going to hinder their ability to be independent and self-reliant. However, on the astral plane, what was actually going on was that the malevolent beings understood that the Native Americans were energetically connected to the bison and were able to derive some of their strength from the bison, much the same way that Samson was able to derive his strength and his power from his hair. And just like when Samson's hair was cut and he lost his strength, when the bison were killed by the United States government, energetically, it acted as a disempowerment of the Native American people. So they were chipping away slowly at their strength. Strength can also be seen as our ability to self-govern and be independent, which I think is fascinating. It makes me think of other ways in which now we have strength and how we might be energetically being disempowered as well. I basically always look at these videos as an opportunity for us to reflect, or specifically me. What you do after you watch it is up to you. But it's an opportunity for me to explore how this is impacting us in our own life. And since this is a video, I guess like a historical kind of video, it's what can we learn from what has happened to the people that were here before us, right? So, for example, if we're approaching our environment with a sense of gratitude in advance, what does that look like for us? Is there a different outcome when every situation is approached with gratitude versus going into a situation or environment with this energy of feeling already heavy and dense, and I'm gonna have to work so hard, and like, even imagine if somebody starts like a new job, right? Like, are we going into it feeling excited? This is a great opportunity, I'm gonna learn so many new amazing things, or I can't believe I have to start over all again. I can't believe this is like my 15th job in like 3 years. I can't believe it's raining. There was traffic on the freeway and there was, you know, closures on the roads. Like, what happens when we are bringing in our own energetic state, whatever it is, into different environments and situations. So I just think that's interesting. It's an invitation for you as well if it's something that you would like to do. But if not, you can just, come to the videos and watch me kind of like talking it through. Okay, let's wrap it up. So we're gonna do a brief little recap. Native Americans, high vibration, right? They were able to connect to source directly. They could connect to their ancestors on the astral plane. They were vibrationally pure, vibrationally in alignment with Mother Earth, with nature, with animals. And we're always in a state of gratitude in advance. Comparing, contrasting that with the first settlers, did not have the greatest experiences coming over, were already restricted energetically and very hindered in the way that they could experience the world. And as much as this was a new opportunity for them to start over and experience something new, it was rife with tremendous hardships. We're not taking that away from them. I can't imagine what it was like to come over and have to learn all of these new things. And especially in that time, it's easy for us. We could say, hey Siri, or we can hop on our phones and we can research things. They didn't have any of that. So I am extending definitely a lot of grace to them for that. And in no way judging what their experience was like, how challenging it was, and what they did endure. However, just to say that because of their limited understanding in which the way that we can vibrationally line up to things and be in a better flow state, how that can change things for us. Just gonna leave that there. I'm gonna take my foot out of my mouth. Okay, so guys, if you have enjoyed this video, I would greatly appreciate it if you can drop a like down below. If you're not yet subscribed, please subscribe, because we are just gonna have a good time examining the veil and what's beyond it on this station. And as always, until the next video, stay in the high vibration.